Based on evolving intelligence, Russia may be planning a cyber attack against us. But I think it's more likely we're going to end up, if we end up in a war, a real shooting war with a major power, it's going to be as a consequence of a cyber breach of great consequence.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which will bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole.
U.S. warning that Chinese hackers are positioning themselves to attack critical U.S. infrastructure.
People hadn't been really focused on the security aspects of it. Now, though, people are starting to become aware of it and trying to figure out what to do now that all this code is embedded in so many systems.
The change is not just happening. The change can be shaped by us. We have to prepare for a more angry world. How to prepare to take the necessary action to create a fairer world. I see the need for a great reset. So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen. Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which will bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
What I would say that is unique about the environment that we're in right now in my career is that while there may have been times over the years where individual threats could have been higher here or there than where they might be right now, I've never seen a time where all the threats, or so many of the threats, are all elevated, all at exactly the same time. That's what makes this environment that we're in now so fraught, and why funding our men and women who are working shoulder to shoulder with state and local law enforcement and other partners every day makes it even more important, not less.
So, blinking red lights analogy about 9/11, all the lights were blinking red before 9/11. Apparently, obviously all of us missed it. Would you say that there's multiple blinking red lights out there?
I see blinking lights everywhere I turn.
Okay, all right. Can't say any better than that.
Alarming news tonight from the new man at the NSA. He says China and a few other countries are capable of mounting cyber attacks that could turn off your lights and cut your power.
A handful of nations, including China, have the capacity to shut down the U.S. power grid with a cyber attack.
There shouldn't be any doubt in our minds that there are nation states and groups out there that have the capability to do that. To enter our systems, to enter those industrial control systems, and to shut down, forestall our ability to operate our basic infrastructure. Being totally on the defensive is a very losing strategy to me. It will cost a significant amount of money. It leads to a much decreased probability of mission success. That's just not a good outcome for us in the long run.
But I think it's more likely we're going to end up, if we end up in a war, a real shooting war with a major power, it's going to be as a consequence of a cyber breach of great consequence. And it's increasing exponentially, the capabilities. When I was with Mr. Putin, who has a real problem, he's sitting on top of an economy that has nuclear weapons and oil wells and nothing else. Nothing else. Their economy is what, the 8th smallest in the world now? Largest in the world? He knows he's in real trouble, which makes him even more dangerous in my view.
Russian hacking to influence the American election has dominated the news, but we've also noticed a hacking attack that could be a future menace to America. Last weekend, parts of the Ukrainian capital, Kiev, went dark. Holly Williams reports that Russia appears to have figured out how to crash a power grid with a click.
Look, today my administration is issuing new warnings that based on evolving intelligence, Russia may be planning a cyber attack against us. As I said, the magnitude of Russia's cyber capacity is fairly consequential, and it's coming.
We can't just look at the Ukraine attack and go, oh, we're safe against that attack. Even if we just lose a portion, right? If we have New York City or Washington, D.C. go down for a day, 2 days, a week, how does life look like at that point?
Rob Lee is a former cyber warfare operations officer in the US military and investigated the Ukraine attack. He told us some US electric utilities have weaker security than Ukraine, and the malicious software the hackers used has already been detected in the US.
It's very concerning that these same actors, using similar capabilities and tradecraft, are preparing and are getting access to these business networks and getting access to portions of the power grid.
But an attack in the US could leave people without electricity for days or even weeks, according to experts, because ironically, Scott, America's advanced automated grid would be much harder to fix.
In the U.S., a new bulletin tonight amid this Israeli war. Tonight, there is new concern that Iranian-backed hackers might have targeted the water supply system near Pittsburgh. The ominous message sent about using equipment made by Israel. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, now.
Tonight, evidence that hackers with ties to Iran may be testing the American infrastructure for vulnerabilities. Officials at a small water utility site in Pennsylvania, just outside of Pittsburgh, noticed Friday night that a computer that helps control water pressure for 2 townships was malfunctioning. When they rebooted the system, this ominous message, highlighted in red, appeared on the screen, saying, "You have been hacked."
One strategy used by hacking groups is to start small, target a vulnerable location, and then use that to conduct additional cyber attacks in the future.
The group claiming responsibility called themselves Cyber Avengers, saying they were attacking because the water utility used equipment made in Israel. But tonight, ABC News obtaining this bulletin from state and federal officials warning that this form of attack has the potential to target any critical infrastructure in our area. David, tonight those Iranian-backed hackers are warning that any American utility using Israeli products is fair game and could be targeted.
U.S. officials say a Russia-linked ransomware group called CLOP is responsible for a global cyber attack that has struck multiple U.S. agencies and NATO allies. The cyber attack has affected the U.S. Department of Energy, multiple Johns Hopkins-affiliated hospitals, the University System of Georgia, the Minnesota Department of Education, and British Airways.
There have been a series of cyber attacks over the last couple of weeks at water facilities and hospitals. And why don't you give us just the lay of the land right now? We know about these recent attacks that I think are backed by the Iranians. Are we seeing an increased number of attacks from nation states?
Good morning to you. Yes, so critical services like hospitals, like water systems around the country are facing persistent attacks from hostile countries and criminals.
Is this a situation where those attacks on our infrastructure have stepped up in the aftermath?
Last week, we did see an increase in Iranian government attacks against water systems.
How safe should Americans feel just in terms of drinking the water, going to a hospital?
We do need to really lock our digital doors. But these hostile and persistent attacks by both countries like Iran and criminals who are attacking critical services and companies, costing the economy billions of dollars, are a wake-up call. We really believe it's a threat. While a persistent and difficult one, we can be in a better place with just locking and bolting our digital doors.
And I think I've always felt somewhat safe because I figure there are a lot of things you in the White House and at the top levels of corporations know that you're not telling me. Should I assume that? Things that you are working on that should make me feel safe?
This is not a problem the government can solve on its own. This is a problem that partnership will make a difference, and we're committed to it. And companies should consider this a wake-up call to take that advice.
Have there been other things that have been not been made public?
This is it is a persistent threat, but clearly these recent attacks show that there's more that needs to be done.
Morning, we're learning more about one of the cyber attacks on one of the nation's largest casino companies that caused havoc on the Las Vegas Strip and other cities. A Russian hacking network provided the ransomware used to a group known as Scattered Spider, reportedly based in the U.S. and Europe.
The hackers are always ahead of governments and corporations. This is the thing. This is endemic. Hospitals, schools, healthcare systems, utility systems.
Daniel Chai is a lecturer with the University of Toronto specializing in business ethics and consumer rights.
Vital emergency systems have been hacked, and a lot of them have sleepers hacks that have occurred where there's backdoor access, and at any time some nefarious foreign entity or hacker can take over and cause a lot of damage. And in some cases, these companies, these organizations, and public institutions aren't even aware.
Microsoft today said it uncovered stealthy and targeted malicious activity by China attacking U.S. infrastructure. Local cybersecurity expert Paul Robinson says since 2021, there's been major Chinese state-sponsored infiltration into critical infrastructure across the nation. This pertains to telecommunications, electric and oil and gas. Robinson says anytime something is plugged into the internet, it is vulnerable to a cyber attack. He said this kind of meddling can cause all sorts of chaos.
If our electrical grids are shut down for 2 weeks, what does our world look like with no electricity for 2 weeks? Or if our telecommunications are shut down and we're not able to communicate via phone or internet for a couple of weeks, it can have a very lasting, catastrophic impact.
One of the nation's biggest port operators remains crippled tonight due to a cyber attack, with the cause still unknown. The Australian Federal Police is now involved in the investigation to find the hackers, with fears Christmas could be affected.
We haven't seen the usual sort of ransomware give us money shenanigans yet, but that may be yet to come.
It's a big wake-up call to corporate Australia that Australia is under attack.
The National Crisis Management System used during the pandemic has been activated.
We have enough challenges as it is with industrial disputes at the ports at the moment. To overlay this with more cyber attacks is damaging.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole.